Hey Exiles, Talkative Try here with some actual new Path of Exile 2 information in the middle of a dead time for the game. As you can see, I was not planning on recording this video. If you're looking at my haircut or anything, it's late, kids are asleep, my wife's playing Guild Wars 2, and I'm here with a bunch of Path of Exile 2 info, some of it new, some worthy of discussion in regards to the upcoming 0.5 update. Lots of people have moved on from the patch as it stands right now. So if that's you and you're just planning on coming back for 0.5 or even 1.0, which probably is going to be at the end of the year, this is the video for you. Today, we're going to discuss two potentially leaked Ascendancy classes that are currently in the game files, what's actually coming with the endgame update in 0.5, whether or not the Vaal runes shall go core, the probable release date of the next major content update, and ExileCon and why full release is likely in December of this year and not in 2027. As always, timestamps and sources are in the description, and that's important for this video. It's a vintage news video. I need to source everything. But before we leap in, like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you enjoy my videos. It helps keep the channel talkative, especially right now. Let's kick it off with this image right here. This randomly appeared on my X feed today alongside this second image, and you might be wondering, what in the world am I looking at? Well, they are obviously two Path of Exile 2 Ascendancy classes. The first is the one that I'm most excited for. It is an updated look at an Ascendancy class that was teased all the way back in 2019 at the first ExileCon by the Grinding Gear Games developers. It was a new Ascendancy attached to the old Ranger class called the Beastmaster. As you can see from this screen grab right here, the Beastmaster was basically a cat woman. She was able to transform into a werecat. She was able to summon multiple different cats, including tigers and lions, and that was about it that we knew about her back then. Glancing at the new imagery, obviously we are attaching her to the Asmiri spirits. On the screen you see a bear, you see an owl, and you see a stag. You encounter these when you are fighting wisps all throughout Path of Exile 2, beginning in the hunting grounds. While it's only the picture currently in the game files, I think we can speculate on what this Ascendancy is going to all be about. I really think it's going to be either companion based, you're summoning these spirits of the wild, the wisps are fighting for you, maybe they're the primary damage dealers as opposed to just being sponges for damage or minions that are a little bit of an afterthought, an actual companion class, or maybe the spirits of the wild, the Asmirian spirits, are empowering you. In the actual game files, this is the wild speaker, not the Beastmaster. So perhaps you are speaking these spirits into existence. Maybe they're fighting for you, maybe they're empowering you, maybe it's both. Honestly, I would prefer to see an actual companion class where the companions are doing the bulk of the damage and you are more supportive toward them. After the addition of the Disciple of Varashta, I think this is a very likely add. We know that these Ascendancy classes, this one and the one we're about to talk about, are very likely to come into the game with 0.5. Grinding Gear Games has talked about how they have many Ascendancy classes cooked, very, very close to being finished, just not making it over the finish line. I think this is the case with the Wild Speaker. The Disciple of Varashta made it over the finish line at the last second for 0.4. In 0.5, we're likely getting Wild Speaker and at least this next one. On your screen right now is the Arcane Archer. Now this one's a little special to me because back in 2024, when I first attended Exile Meet, which was the premier LA event for PoE 2, I received this in my press kit. It was a picture similar to this titled Arcane Archer. I did some digging, I asked Jonathan about it, and yes, basically, this is the final Ranger Ascendancy that we're going to get. Essentially, an Ascendancy class based on archers and casting spells with your arrows. This is an archetype that I love in Dungeons & Dragons, and I hope they nail it in Path of Exile 2. We actually have a little bit more on the Arcane Archer. We have this skill right here, this meta skill on PoE 2 DB. It is attached to an Ascendancy class, and it essentially allows you to trigger socketed spells from using ranged attacks, the more mana you spend. There's no way this is the final version of the actual scale. You can see there are some meme lines right here. Additional effects from quality, 0 to 10% increased fishing line strength, so we definitely cannot take it at face value. The art for this Ascendancy as well was seen very recently in a less cooked manner. It didn't have the beautiful arcane arrows surrounding the archer. It's in the background of the latest interview between Ziggy D, Mark Roberts, and Jonathan Rogers, which we'll be bringing up in just one moment. But for now, I have to pose the question to you. Which one of these looks more exciting? Honestly, the Wild Speaker speaks to me quite a bit. I've been a huge fan of the Druid's implementation in 0.4. I have 2 Druids in the end game, essentially 1 wolf, 1 bear, and I really want to see what they've done with the Beastmaster. Is it going to be based purely on the Asmerian spirits and companions, or buffing yourself with the wisp abilities that we see when we are fighting them all throughout PoE 2? Or is it going to be something unexpected? Are we going to get the Werecat shape-shifting form that was teased all the way back in 2019? I would love that as well, but after speaking to Jonathan about this in interviews, it really sounds like there was only one other shape-shifting form that they were considering. It's the Treant, the plant monster. Nothing was said about the Werecat, although perhaps that was intentional and it's hiding in plain sight and they're ready to drop it in 0.5. Although with the way shapeshifting works, I don't see how they could attach a shapeshift form to an Ascendancy unless it allowed you to use other shapeshift skills as a Werecat. Think turning the attacks of the wolf from ice to fire? I don't know. We'll have to see. Then as for the Arcane Archer, even though the entire archetype is so fascinating to me, I just know it's probably going to be a little complicated if it's dealing with energy and cast on stuff. So I don't know. While it appeals to me outside of Path of Exile 1 and 2, I've never been a ranged person in these sort of games. I think I've played 1 bow character across my, 25, 26 leagues across both games? That's kind of wild. And it was in my 2nd league. It was Toxic Rain. Okay, moving on from that juicy new info that just came out of nowhere after being data mined and massively excited me, inspired me to make this video, we got to talk about the Endgame revamp that's incoming in 0.5, because I read a lot constantly across Discord, forums, Twitter, everywhere, watch videos, and a lot of people have some misconceptions on what is coming or what is likely to be coming in 0.5, and I want to clear them up right here. Set expectations, temper expectations, because as much as I love grinding gear games and I think they do a great job with the development of the game, many people have sky-high expectations for the endgame overhaul that's coming. Many people seem to think they are going to forego the Infinite Atlas and completely redo the entire endgame. That's very unlikely to happen with 0.5. Maybe that happens in 2.0 or 3.0, a far ways off. There's no way. There's absolutely no way they get rid of the Infinite Atlas right now, you guys, at least in my opinion. What they have stated to be changing are twofold. One, it's the actual Atlas tree. Okay, the Atlas trees that exist in game are not exciting, and Mark Roberts essentially said that they sucked. And his words, not mine, the new Atlas trees are in a whole different universe. He said that in the Ziggy D interview for 0.4. So we should expect a complete overhaul of the core trees alongside the actual league trees that you, not league, but endgame content trees that you unlock for Abyss, Breach, Ritual, Expedition, so on and so forth. And alongside the overhaul of these trees, making them more exciting, impactful, we should also expect for those endgame content pieces to be more fleshed out. Think of transforming Breach into more like Abyss, making it have multiple different bosses that you can fight along the way to the Vessel of Kulamak itself, adding more different and unique rewards to each of these types. Expedition especially needs some real unique rewards besides the awesome uniques that you can get for killing Olroth, and of course the recombination. It needs some actual juice to it. all this stuff is going to be coming into the game. I don't think there's going to be a complete overhaul of the actual Atlas system. I think that's here to stay for quite some time. And honestly, they've convinced me at this point that the Infinite Atlas can work. It just needs some improvements to its navigation. And that's one thing that they haven't really touched on that I'd love to see occur. This is unconfirmed, but I really hope that 0.5 also brings improvements to the navigation of the Atlas and the core quest, the Arbiter of Ash quest. They've talked about the Atlas tree getting overhauled. They've talked about the endgame content systems like Breach and Expedition getting more bosses and more unique rewards, but they haven't really talked about the core Atlas experience. Maybe we'll get a new pinnacle boss after Arbiter of Ash. Maybe we'll have less RNG in that quest. Maybe we'll get an Atlas search function or something along those lines. I really hope that's what we get in 0.5. But to everybody who's saying this is going to be a sweeping endgame system update, it's not happening. And speaking of what 100% is happening, I also am witnessing debate over the Vaal runes going core or not, the Fate of the Vaal League mechanic being removed from the game in 0.5. There is a 0% chance it is removed from the game. This is going core in 0.5, although it will likely look quite dissimilar to how it appears now. I'm guessing the reward top end will be brought down. It's probably going to have a different way to access it. Maybe you can start finding it in Act 3 as opposed to instantly. Maybe you'll be able to find random Vaal runes on the Atlas as nodes, pre-completed temples and seeds. Some awesome temples, some crappy temples. They're going to implement it. It's just a matter of how. So to all the people who are confidently saying there's no way grinding your games puts this in the game, they will. They will. Path of Exile 2 needs content. They know it. We know it. Vaal runes coming into the game. Hopefully we get an Uber at Ziri as well. Next, I know 0.5 is a while away. I think about 2 months away, but I'd like to talk about the release date because there are quite a few other ARPG releases happening imminently. So I think we can narrow down when Path of Exile 2 0.5 is hitting based on those release dates and a holiday that occurs in April. First up, Path of Exile 1's 3.28 expansion hits in early March. Okay? So it's not happening in March. Next up, Last Epoch's 4th season hits March 26th, and the game director on Last Epoch, Judd, has said that he is in communication with Grinding Your Games now as to not have their leagues mash up against each other and face off, because that has happened several times in the past. So if that statement is true and he's talking to Mark and Jonathan, I don't think it's going to be within 1 or 2 weeks, especially since Easter is the first week of April, and we all know that Grinding Your Games has that off, and they do not want to release an update going into a holiday. Easter is on April 5th. And then the final week of April is Anzac Day in New Zealand, which is a big holiday. They have multiple days off for that. And it is the release of Diablo 4's big expansion, the Lord of Hatred. That hits on April 28th. Laying all that out, we know that PoE 2 releases always hit on a Friday. My big prediction, my easy prediction, is that 0.5 will hit on April 10th, 2026. Yes, that's only about a month after the 3.28 release for Path of Exile 1, but that is exactly what they did with 0.4, and that lines up perfectly for our final topic. 4 months after that is August, and that would be 0.6, and then another 4 months after that would be December, which is after ExileCon 2026, which happens November 7th through 8th. And at ExileCon, I reckon they are announcing the 1.0 release date, and I am extremely confident it's happening in December of this year. Now, why do I keep saying this? Because on my video where I said, yes, I am going to ExileCon, it's going to be super, super fun, people were pushing back saying, no, they're going to release in the first quarter of the next year or sometime in 2027. No way, guys. No way, guys. 2026, December, huge, huge month for money making. They are going to release supporter packs for this, the big core supporter packs, probably the league long supporter packs too. They will make absolute bank if they announce at ExileCon and go directly into a December release for 1.0. Remember, all they need in Jonathan's eyes are the axe, the rest of the Ascendancy classes for the classes currently in game, and then here's the iffy one. They need the players to be happy. They need the players to like the game. Honestly, guys, I don't think we're going to get everybody on board for that ever. So if they can hit those first two, all axe, all ascendancies, and I think we're going to get several ascendancies in 0.5, they're on par to go free to play this year. Is that a good decision? That's another question, because honestly, I think the best time to go free to play, just from my perspective, would be once all the classes are in the game, once the game is actually not balanced, because I don't think an ARPG can ever be balanced, but once everything has had a once over, at least, right? Everybody's play tested it, okay? Because we're going to get the Templar, Duelist, Marauder, all the weapons that come with them, a bunch of other stuff. And if we're getting these OP classes being dropped in the game, being very funky, we're going to probably end up in like a Diablo 4 situation. Everybody's all like, oh, what's going on there? This is crazy. Where the new class is just OP and it smashes every single other class for that particular league. That's likely that this sort of balance wackiness is going to occur when the game is free to play and there's tons of people constantly flowing in and trying it out. If they run into a very underpowered class or see that there's one class that's just all above the rest and it's OP, they might leave the game. But honestly, I suppose you can argue that's really always happening in Path of Exile 1 and 2. There's always a set of overpowered skills and archetypes that are just overperforming across the game. So I don't know. I'm not the game dev. I'm not the director. If they release it in 1.0, I'm going to play it. I'm going to have a great time, and I'm sure a lot of you out there will too. Remember, tickets for ExileCon, they go on sale on the 10th of February, and there's also going to be a set of races leading up to ExileCon, wherein you can win those races, and if you win the races, you are flown to ExileCon to participate in the big PoE 2 race. And actually, I'm going to be talking to one of those potential racers, Anglemus, this week. Should be a fun podcast. All right, Exiles, hope you enjoyed this newsy speculation video in this very, very quiet time for Path of Exile 2. I hope you have a good one. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure, as I said earlier, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, leave a comment. It helps keep this channel talkative.